La da dee da dee da day. La da dee da dee da day. La da dee da dee da day. La da dee da dee da day.
Welcome, everyone. I am just delighted to have you with us. And I am, basically a devotee of Mary Magdalene. I started back in 2000 with my search, actually, from very, very young age. Actually, I started my pilgrimage with Mary Magdalene. She bit a bug in me. Like I just became obsessed about her and I had to know more and more. And deeper. But I grew up in a family of scientists. And so I loved it when I could bring the world of science of what Dr. Joe Dispenza is doing with working with the scientists and gathering the scientific data together with the metaphysical, mystical experiences that I was having around Mary Magdalene. And when the two came together, it was very exciting. I did this video I don't know how many years ago, maybe 4 years ago, and he's upgraded all videos. So these are lots of new videos because he keeps him, improving his work with the HeartMath Institute and having the opportunity to study. Now, I'm very curious. Have any of you taken any of his courses, or are any of you um, involved in some study with some teachers on Mary Magdalene? If you don't mind sharing.
Uh, this is Mary, and I've never done anything with Dr. Joe Dispenza, but I have done study of Mary Magdalene with other teachers.
Awesome. Thank you, Mary. Appreciate it. This material, the amount of material that I will be covering today, is very deep and actually it's quite simple, even though it's deep. And it covers a lot. And this is actually one in a series of four classes that I taught. So I'm offering you guys a special opportunity with that. If you're interested, if you get sparked by this and you want to go even deeper into the material, because this is actually fairly new material for our our time and our culture. Because the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, even though it was discovered in 1945 in the Nag Hammadi library, further elevated the status of it. Fragments are found in different places, and that's a whole nother video that I don't have time to go into today. But there's a really rich and deep history of what is coming forward. It's like we really missed out. So I'm going to share my screen and put up the slides so I can take you on this journey. Now you just see the slides, right?
Correct.
I was very fortunate in being able to have my work, my body of work that I do with priestesses of Mary Magdalene. And it was a body of work that I got to do, and it was published in an anthology called Magdalene Unveiled. And so it fills in a lot more detail. And I have a number of copies left of it. So I'm gonna let if you go through this course and you really like it, this is a part of a series that I did on her ascension teachings and whatnot. And this part relates to what the science has found out, because in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, she talks about quantum physics, something that was written close to, what, not quite 2,000 years ago. But there it was. It was already known and articulated quite well. And so I'm going to let you guys get a chance to see the full series, plus you get a copy of the book signed by me. If I run out of books, I'll have to order more, but we can work that out. I'll let you know if you're interested. My point basically that I'm making in this whole thing is that Mary Magdalene was a living demonstration of one who lived above the battlefield. Now, that's an expression that's used in A Course in Miracles. And what it refers to is it refers to this notion or idea that we live in an egoic world of what we call our separated self. So we're not separate. We are actually whole. We are fully connected with the all that is love, peace, joy, the qualities of God. It's a part of the co-creative process of higher consciousness and the living energies that matter. And we're supposed to be living heaven on earth, but we have had a falling because of several factors, which actually I'm going to be talking about at a new conference coming up in June 14th. I was invited to speak on the fall of the Holy Sophia. And that kind of outlines what was happening and why she has fallen. Anyways, so Mary was one who was able to really manifest and live above the line. And I found that when I got excited about it, discovering that she had her own gospel for one thing, and no one had told me, and I was very shocked because I found it out as an adult. So anyway, what ended up happening was I was so taken by the fact that there was a Gospel of Mary. And what I discovered was that we really lost out, that all of this teaching about who she was and what she had done and why she was such an incredible leader of the church and actually launched Christianity because she was the one that encouraged the disciples. Her power and her ability to know that she was one with God, just like Jesus said, the Father within does the work. And so it's the process of going within was really lost to us and suppressed. And it cost us a lot, especially as women. And we suffered greatly from it, lost our rights, had all kinds of difficulties. So I always like to take a moment when I'm doing anything like this and just breathe in, because we're crossing a line and restoring knowledge that has been lost. And so there's a way that's processed. If you have rose oil or if you have a rose that you can smell, that also helps because rose is the highest frequency. And lots of times when we do a live event, we will open with the smell of the rose because the smell of the rose opens the heart. Unfortunately, corporate America has DNA removed the smell of rose. So you buy commercial roses, they have no smell. You have to grow your own garden roses. So we're just going to take a moment and just take 3 deep breaths in. Thank you so much. Helps too. And there's a famous line that says that she entered in through the silence. This is silence is a special word. It doesn't mean without sound. It actually has to do with the energy of presence that silence brings when you are being still and knowing who you are, the truth of who you are. And you enter into a deep listening. And in that listening, you learn and embody the master's teachings. And if you watch any of my videos, you'll hear me tell stories about when I was sitting in the silence and then I heard a directive, something, and it's always magnificent. It's always like, wow, I never would have thought of that in a million years. So I highly recommend. This is part of the practice that happens is we enter in through the silence to know and listen to who we are. The other thing is this chart really helped to capsulize for me the whole course in a nutshell, because you see that there's two aspects. There's what we call the above the line thinking, and then there's the below the line thinking. The world was created as a below the line experience. It's full of judgment. We often feel as victims. We're stuck in a lot of fear. We have excuses about why things aren't working out. Everything's a problem. And we often procrastinate and feel like a failure. And we feel pretty much at the effect. So we're reacting and blaming, and there's a lot of scarcity and lack in this realm of our egoic separated self. To live in higher consciousness, which is the creativity, the living energies, we have to get above the line. And when you're above the line, you're in acceptance. You now are at choice. You could choose love over fear. You are looking for results rather than worrying about excuses. You're open to feedback because you don't see it. You see yourself in a growth and a learning curve. So you're looking for solutions. What is it I need to do? What action should I take? You pray for clarity, and you're at cause because you're connecting to a source where you understand this living consciousness is a creative life force, and therefore you are 100% responsible for creating that life that you want to have. But we have fallen below the line in our world, in our thinking, and then they suppress this knowledge of the above the line thinking so that we wouldn't learn how to create an abundant life that is full of everything that we love and everything that we want. It's like really bizarre that we ended up in this situation. What I discovered is that Mary Magdalene lived above the line, and so did many other people know this. These paintings were often paintings that the queens did, and the queens would have themselves painted as Mary Magdalene. Anyway, so they wanted to emanate her. And there's Kathleen McGowan's work is really amazing. The Boleyn heresies and whatnot. She tells the stories of the first Magdalene Priestess mystery schools where young girls were taught the way of the Magdalene and her teachings as she traveled all through the south of France. So this line is on page 8. It's line number 5 in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. And it says, "This is why I tell you, be in harmony." Now, this is a simple enough statement, but not so simple to implement, because it really means letting go of all that below the line stuff, the egregious things. And coming into harmony means that you have to become into balance. So this is where we come to learn that the whole thing that they were trying to put on us, that she had all these demons come out of her and she was mentally ill, was actually not true. What happened was, as she went through her own process of initiating, opening, and enlightening, all of her chakras came into balance and harmony. In fact, there is even a crop circle that was formed that showed all the chakra centers open on her feast day in England. So being in harmony is living above the line at the feeling level, so that you're at cause. And now, thanks to Joe Dispenza and the work that he's doing, the science behind the living above the line is now being documented. Because as he began to discover this, he began to sequester the universities and the databases and their ability to measure and collect baseline data about people's state of consciousness, and use that information to help with the elevation of the work that he was doing, so he could find out what would it take to bring us into a full-blown conscious state. Because above the line, there is no disease, there's no illness, there's no, it's not a a scary place. You know, there's no fear. You're healthy, you're well, you're open-hearted, you're wholehearted. It's a holistic way of living in the world. And so he wanted to know, having had a really bad accident, and he was lying on the table for weeks with a broken back. And he thought, well, I got nothing to do. I might as well see what it's like to go within. And he went within and he discovered all of this himself. So, and she also, this is the famous Martha and Mary story, where she would sit at Jesus's feet and she would deeply listen and take in his words and his teaching. And she did the inner work. And Martha, her sister, was like, what are you doing? You're supposed to be helping me in the kitchen. And Jesus said, no, she's doing the right thing. Let her be. So her dedication and her work, her inner work, led her to have a vision. And now I will speak to you of that which has not been given you to hear, that I had a vision. Because Peter and the disciples noticed that something had changed about her. So they were like, wow, what's going on? She's more illuminated. Something's happening, but they didn't know what. And when she says to him, I will now speak to you of that which has not been given to you to hear, he actually wasn't able to hear because he was so beholden to the cultural norms that women were less than. And Jesus was trying so hard to elevate the status of women and show that women were equal. And he would not have any of that. The other phenomenon that's operating here is what we call seeing without the body's eyes versus seeing with the body's eyes. When we look out on the world with our body's eyes, we think we're seeing the reality of the situation, but in truth, we can only see the past. And the reason is that what we are looking at is we're looking at the light and love of God. And as that light enters the eyeball, it hits the back of the eyeball, it formulates a chemical electrical impulse that goes into the brain, and the brain immediately searches and tries to find out, what does this mean? What am I looking at? Am I safe? Should I fight or flight? You know, the PTSD responses, or am I okay? Can I calm down? Can I relax? Can I just be present? All this evaluation is based on judgment. And it's all based on things that we've had happen in the past. So I had a profound example of that when my stepfather had a stroke at the dining room table. The reason we knew something was wrong was because he picked up the fork and he held it up and he went, what is this? And he was completely baffled, like he'd never seen a fork in his life and he didn't know what it was for. And that's because the part of his brain that holds the memory of what a fork was gone, and it was blocked, so he couldn't access it. So you see, in order to see with eyes of love, we have to be, in training ourselves, we have to be making this causal choice to live above the line, rather than, otherwise we're going to see fear and we're going to be in scarcity and lack and have these difficult problems. So, Dr. Joe Dispenza, I would like you to meet Mary Magdalene, because I feel like she is the first living demonstration, according to the Gospel of Mary, of what your research is discovering. So you think you're discovering and documenting it as if it just happened. And I'm here to show that she actually was already talking about it, was already experiencing it, was already doing the work of it back when she was with her beloved. So I picked out a few clips.
You think equal to everything that's familiar or known to you, what do you keep creating more of? Same life. Now, the quantum law is still applying to you. You're just thinking equal to everything that you know, and you keep creating more of the same. To change, to truly change, is to think greater than your environment. And every great person in history knew this, whether it was William Wallace or Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King, Queen Elizabeth I or Joan of Arc. They all had a vision. They all had an idea. Couldn't see it, couldn't smell it, couldn't taste it, couldn't feel it. but it was alive in their mind. It was.
So this is a really important distinction here, because they couldn't see it, they couldn't feel it, but it was alive in their mind. So that's the difference between seeing with your body's eyes, which when you look with your body's eyes, all you can see is the past. But when you go within in meditation and get still and find an ability to access this ability to vision within, which is some would call opening the third eye, then you can begin to have a vision of what it is that you want to create in your life. So that's why he's referring to all these famous people who were able to do that. And that's basically what happened to Mary Magdalene. So let's take a look at her actual book, which is fragmented and lots of missing pages, but there's enough there that we can still get a chance to gather the information. And when I send this replay out, I'll put the original clip. So if you want to watch the whole reprogramming of your brain thing that he talks about, you'll be able to have the link to be able to listen to the whole program. So on page 8 of the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, it says, attachment to matter gives rise to passion against nature. Thus trouble arises in the whole body. And this is why I tell you, be in harmony. So the Buddhist traditions have actually known about attachment and the problems with attachment to matter for a long time. And they talk about the practice of non-attachment. And it was funny, I was listening this morning to a Zen storytelling video, and he was talking about the story that's being told when Buddha received his enlightenment sitting under the Bodhi tree. And all of a sudden they're saying, first this happened to him, and then that happened to him, and then this next thing happened to him, and then he achieved this awakening. And I thought to myself, wow, that's exactly what Mary Magdalene says in her book about the soul's journey. And so I'm going to do a comparison at some point on that too, because I hadn't really heard a teacher that articulated clearly what Buddha's, but the steps are the same. And it's getting into this divine state of consciousness. So yeah, let's go in. This is about creating the future. So hopefully you can hear this.
Can you teach your body emotionally?
So can everybody hear that?
Yes.
Okay, great. So he's going to go into that our unconscious actually lives in the body. And so this process of teaching our body to be able to detach from matter, to be able to get above, raise ourselves above, it's almost like we have to train and go through this process of detaching from matter, of detaching from what's held in the body and releasing it and letting it go by what he calls the emotional body. So
Future self feels like before it happens. That means you can't wait for your wealth to feel abundance. You can't wait for your success to feel empowered. You can't wait for your new relationship to feel love. You can't wait for your healing to feel gratitude. You can't wait for the mystical moment to feel awe and wonder. That's the old model of reality of cause and effect. Waiting for something.
See, that's the above the line and below the line.
Out there to change, take away our lack or emptiness or separation. I want to cause and effect. And we discovered that if you can teach your body emotionally what that future will feel like before it happens, you will no longer be looking for it. How could you look for it if you feel like it's already happened? Get ready. Get ready. That's when the magic starts to happen in your life. That new personality all of a sudden starts to create a new personal reality. And the synchronicities And I'm not talking about a parking space. The coincidences, the opportunities, the serendipities are showing up in your life to prove to you that you are the creator of your life. Are you with me still? And the word meditation, I looked it up. It said to become familiar with, to become so familiar, to know thyself, that old self, so well. To become so familiar with your unconscious thoughts, your automatic behaviors, your knee-jerk emotional responses. Become so conscious of that unconscious self, so familiar with it, you wouldn't go unconscious to it. Are you with me still? To become familiar with a new self.
So you see, he keeps stopping every so often and says, "Are you with me still?" And the Gospel of Mary Magdalene does the same thing. Says, she repeats over and over, "Do you have the ears to hear? Are you listening?" But listening in the way of be still and know, not listening with the physical ears, but with the inner ear of know, of listening for the deeper knowledge, the deeper access. It's a much place. So he keeps bringing people back to the present moment. Are you listening? Are you with me?
Firing and wiring those thoughts, keep behaving in the same way. You become familiar. Keep creating those elevated emotions and trade resentment and pain and frustration and anger for love and gratitude and joy and freedom. We discovered, I asked the scientists, when we first started this journey, the reason I started measuring is because I started seeing people stepping out of wheelchairs and all kinds of healings. And we partnered with a very, very prestigious university in the United States. And one of the top researchers came to our event. And he was skeptical. He wouldn't even shake my hand. He's a different character today, I can tell you. Big skeptic. I said to him, okay, 2,000 people. If they've been thinking the same way, making the same choices, doing the same things, creating the same experiences, feeling the same emotion in their routine life, their biology should stay the same. He said, yeah. I said, okay, we give them new information. Have them share that information, exchange that information, wire it in the brain, set up the conditions in the environment where they can initiate it, to apply it, to personalize it. Have them make a different choice, teach them how to do different things, create new experiences for them, and have them feel new emotions. Will their biology change? I said, theoretically, yes. Do you know that those 2,000 people that come to a week-long event and immerse themselves in the process of change, at the end of 7 days, their biology literally looks like they're living in a new life, and they're regulating thousands of new genes by thought alone. And so when you begin to feel that elevated emotion, we practice opening your heart. Your body's so objective. It doesn't know the difference between the real life experience that's creating that emotion and that emotion you're fabricating by thought alone. And epigenetics says that the environment signals the gene. And if the end product of an experience in the environment is an emotion, and a person is signaling genes ahead of the environment, and genes make proteins, and proteins are responsible for the structure and the function of your body, and the expression of proteins is the expression of life. And we discovered in 3 days, if people trade resentment for gratitude, fear for appreciation, anger for care, that in 4 days, they'll upregulate their immune system by 50% with a specific antibody that strengthens the immune system like a flu shot. That's what we discovered. And so we will work and labor for that present moment, and you have to come up against your old self, and you got to go beyond it. Because on the other side of it, we discovered when you go past that point where you want to stop, that's when the brain changes the most.
You see, what we're doing is making this switch from this lower consciousness of the separated self. And Dr. Joe asks us to identify the thoughts that you're thinking, especially when you wake up. and move into habitual behavior, and allow yourself to become conscious of just what are you thinking. So that's part of the learning process, the practice that, I have a paper and pad next to my bed. And so when I wake up in the morning, before I put on one of his meditations, I often will, just write down whatever fear thought or whatnot, just to become conscious, because consciousness and awareness helps me to move into my elevated self. And then then I can be looking at it from a different point of view. So I have a choice here. Do I want to stay in fear, or do I want to move to love? Do I want to become result oriented, or do I want to maintain the excuses that I've been using? Do I want to have clarity? And so this is how you go through this process of lifting yourself above into a higher consciousness, or you're touching into the creative energies. So in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, if you're out of balance, the key that she says is you take inspiration from manifestations of your true nature. Those who have ears, let them hear. Now, this is very significant, because the inspiration from what is your true nature? Your true nature is the peace and the love and the joy. So when you go into connecting with your true nature, you become closer to source. Higher consciousness thoughts create a fluid state, and they detach you from matter. So you go from the particle, the rigid form of this is how it is, this is how I do it. I get up on the left side, I put my coffee in here, I brush my teeth this way with this toothbrush, then I go to this side. It's all rigid and particle based. And now you're going to become a wave, and you're going to become more fluid. So your intention to elevate yourself, to go above the line, is one of the ways to learn to be in the flow. And this magical thing of seeing this particles dancing on the field of life, the quantum field of life, happened when I was kind of realizing what he was talking about here. And then I was guided to go to this animation function. I'd never gone to it before. And then suddenly on my slideshow was this illustrating. So even with this, it was so fun. It was like, so how do we do this? How do we take this inspiration? When you see something that's stunningly beautiful, when it will inspire you, and inspiring is it's filling you with spirit, right? But also when you remember a time in your life when you were filled with inspiration, when you were jumping for joy or playing as a kid and having so much fun with your friends, and you remember a time when you manifested any of these qualities, you're going to feel that elevated feeling. And that's what's important, is to get to that elevated feeling. The need to remember a time when you felt peace, love, and joy, and you accessing the memory of it. This is a practice that you could do when you watch the replay of this, and just stop the thing and take a few moments and close your eyes and remember and write down some of these thoughts. You also may want to go and watch Joe Dispenza's How to Become Supernatural. He has a full video on that. We don't have time to go through that today. But when you take the inspiration, the feeling in the memory, according to the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, that's when you begin to move into these higher states of. So simple, right? But yet nobody does it, right? So let's see what he says.
This is a critical moment for people, because I think people don't realize how powerful they really are. In this realm, in the quantum realm, there's no separation. There's nothing physical. There's nothing material. There's no matter. That's all taking place in three-dimensional reality. It's all energy. It's all frequency. It's all vibration. It's all information. It's all consciousness. It's all thought. That is that invisible field of energy. Yes. So, okay, that invisible field of energy, Einstein said, the field is the sole governing agency of the particle. He didn't say the particle controls the particle. He said the field controls the particle. So if I can change information in the field, I should be able to affect the particle matter. So it turns out the atom is 99.99999% energy, information. There's nothing physical or material there, 0.00001 material, when the probability of us seeing the truth of reality is zero. Wow. And we are only seeing a small spectrum of frequency, the rainbow, visible light, bouncing off the most stable form of energy called matter, giving us this hologram, this illusion of separation. So if there was a way to create from the field instead of from matter and move closer to source and create from a place of wholeness and less from separation, I'd have to be able to get to the field. So then if where you place your attention is where you place your energy, and you develop the ability to take all of your attention off your body, all of your attention off all the people in your life, all the objects and things, your cell phone, your car, your house, whatever, all the relationships, all the people, all the places you need to go, the place you're sitting, the place you grew up, the place you sleep, the place you work, and nothing about the predictable future or the familiar past, and settle into the present moment. You would go from a somebody to a nobody, from a someone to a no one, from something to nothing, from somewhere to nowhere, from some time to no time. That is the moment you're pure consciousness. You would be disinvesting all of your attention, all of your energy out of this three-dimensional reality, out of the known, and placing it on the unknown. Now, let's demystify the process. Take away everything physical and material in the universe. Take away the earth, take away the moon, take away all the planets, all the moons from the planets, take away the sun, the light from the sun, the stars, all the light from the stars, galaxies, take everything away. Wipe everything out, physical and material. What are you left with? Nothing. Turns out that nothing is filled with a lot of frequency and energy. And I don't know how to explain nothing to a materialist. When you can linger in that place without a name, without a face, without a body weight, without a diet, without a disease, without a profession, without an identity in any way, without a past, and you can linger as pure consciousness, something really profound happens to the brain. Different compartments of the brain that have been modulated or compartmentalized or subdivided because of the stress hormones, shift your attention from one person to another problem to another thing. That habituation fragments the brain. The brain becomes a house divided against itself, and you narrow your focus, you over-focus, you become obsessive about something. That's what we do in stress. It turns out if you open your awareness to nothing, the brain starts getting highly organized. Different compartments of the brain that were modulated start unifying. The brain starts firing this more holistic state, and the whole entire brain is resonating at the same frequency. Now, you get that brain going for that period of time like that, waves that are coherent start interfering with each other, and when they do, they create bigger amplitudes. The higher amplitude, the higher the energy in the brain. So now you have resonance in the brain, and the brain starts getting very mathematical, very organized, right? So that brain that's coherent, the entire brain is functioning as one neurological network. The two hemispheres are coming together, and there's this kind of psychic union called wholeness. Now that state of coherence, in moving out of the beta brainwave states into a slower brainwave state, produce.
So that was really important. The fact that we have all these levels of brainwave states, and it's going into these higher consciousness of the brainwave states that makes a difference for.
This is a critical moment for people.
Sorry,
I think people don't realize how powerful they really are.
I wanted to.
In this realm, in the quantum realm, there's no separation. There's nothing physical. There's nothing material. There's no matter. That's all taking place in three-dimensional reality. It's all energy. Beta brainwave states into a slower brainwave state produces electrical signals. And that electrical signal is the intention. That's the more clear your intention is, the more coherent the brain is, the stronger the signal. Okay, so if you decided to create from the field instead of from matter, and you were just pure consciousness, and I asked you to send the signal out from a coherent brain, and whatever that thing is that you wanted, we trained you how to do that, then you would be shimmering the entire vacuum, that entire void. You are that. You're not you any longer. You're the source, right? So if you're the source and you're sending the signal out, then you're touching the consciousness of everybody, of everyone, of everything, of everywhere, of every time. The entire field is becoming electric because of your intention. If you're source, why would you go anywhere to get anything? And so consciousness is coherent brain. And then the energy of the heart is love, and pure love is source. So if I asked you to fall in love with that future, and I asked you to draw the future to you with the magnetic field of the heart produces a magnetic field up to 3 meters wide. That's studied. So now, love is the glue that holds the atom together. Okay, if I get a coherent heart, the more coherent my heart is, the more energy in my heart, the more I can draw my future to me. So you send the signal out, you draw the experience to you, and now you don't go anywhere to get anything. When there's a vibrational match between your energy and some potential in the quantum field, that when there's a match, you start seeing those synchronicities. You synchronize your energy to that possibility. And so you start seeing the coincidences and the synchronicities and the opportunities. I'm not talking about a parking space. This is a critical moment for people, because I think people don't realize how powerful they really are. When that event happens in their life, they will look back at every single betrayer, everything that happened in their past, and they won't care any longer. That's the moment their past no longer exists, because they're proving to themselves what they innately already know that they may have forgotten, which is that is the creator of their life.
Because our true nature is actually who we are, this peace and love, and we can manifest it by going within and remembering it and having a memory of it bring us up. It allows us to make a choice and change our life. Very simple idea, right? Mm-hmm. And in the gospel, she goes on and says, attachment to matter gives rise to passion against nature. This trouble arises in the whole body. And this is why I tell you to be in harmony. So this is why we learn about the below the line separated self, where trouble arises anywhere from fear and from separation. And then we move into a more harmonious state. We want to go to being in harmony. The emotion follows the thought. So if we can get into harmony of peace and love and joy, then we're going to be living in a world that's feeling above the line. And now, of course, he has the documented scientific proof, because he was able to track through doing the brainwave work. He was able to go through and study the difference between somebody in below the line frustration versus somebody who had actually reached a level of appreciation. And so these are the different brainwave states that are available to us that we go in and out of all the time, every day. Probably the gamma one is more consciously and deliberately created. We have to know how to get there. Because beta is our everyday awakened state, and then alpha, and we start to relax after we get off work or something, and then we go into theta, which is right before we fall asleep, and then we go into deep sleep. But another way to look at it is rising into an awakened Christ consciousness state of mind, which is out of sleep when we're just coming in that twilight zone. That's the time when what we're thinking or what our thoughts are is going to be critical. And then from there, we go into relaxing and recharging the subconscious mind, becoming conscious of what those subconscious thoughts are, so that we can make a choice and choose. And then we practice in the awakened state to be able to solve our problems from a higher consciousness point of view, which, if we continue this journey, takes us into the gamma brainwave state. So on page 7 of the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, it says, what is matter, and will it last forever? And the disciples were asking Jesus. The teacher answered, all that is born, all that is created, all the elements of nature, and the elements of nature are earth, air, fire, and water, are interwoven and united with each other. All the elements of nature are interwoven and united with each other. So when you see the elements of nature like an atom, you see how it's interwoven and united with each other. So we could take a hydrogen water molecule, for example, and it consists of a single proton and a single electron. And so when you look at it, if the single proton is the size of a ping pong ball, which is about 1.5 inches, then, and that's at the center of the atom right here, then the furthest expected distance that would allow you to get to the electron would be 13.5 football fields away. That shows you how much space there is. So really more spacious than we are led to feel. You know, we think this is hard matter we're dealing with. And then when we actually evaluate it, we understand that it's the world of matter, this 3D form. What appears to be solid is actually, you know, anything less than that. And so when we break it down one more time and continue to explore it, we realize that it is energy, which is E = mc squared, right? This is the famous formula that Einstein came up with. It's the world of the most famous equation. And what does it really mean? It means that energy and mass or matter are interchangeable. They are different forms of the same exact thing. So this is where the oneness comes in, that we are all one with each other. So all the elements of nature are interwoven and united with each other. In other words, they're all one. I found this cute little cartoon to kind of, it's the shoestring theory of how all souls are connected, right? So it goes on, it says, all that is composed shall be decomposed, and everything returns to its roots. Matter returns to the origins of matter, which is light energy waves, because it's a particle, and then it goes down to being. So does anyone have any questions or any comments that you want to make? We'll take a little break here before I continue on, but I hope it's making sense.
Christy, I love your little cartoon about all the souls.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Thank
I know
you.
you got to put some humor in it for sure, right?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, dear. So matter breaks down, decomposes, right? And it becomes light, energy, light waves. So then what's the next sentence? Those who have ears, let them hear. But are you listening with the ears that we need to hear? So this video, he's going to talk about the feelings of this elevated emotions, because it's the fact that we've now gotten above the line and we're in an elevated state of higher consciousness, and we've got a much better opportunity to move into producing hormones from the body that actually create much better
How
things.
do I feel a feeling of an experience that I haven't had yet? Well, think about this. The number one feeling that we feel when our life begins to change, or we begin to have feedback from our environment that what we're doing inside of us is producing an effect outside of us, the most common emotion that we feel is a love for life, a joy for existence, grateful, this real deep sense of gratitude. Now think about the emotional signature of gratitude. The emotional signature of gratitude means that something has already happened. When you receive something, or when you're given something, or you are in the process of receiving or have received it, you give thanks. So the moment you start feeling this emotion of appreciation and thankfulness, you will automatically say thank you. which means I've just received something. I'm acknowledging that I'm receiving it from you. So most people live their lives waiting for something outside of them to change how they feel inside of them. They're waiting for their new relationship. They're waiting for their new job. They're waiting for their new mystical moment to occur before they feel the emotions. So basically, they're spending the majority of their time waiting and not creating, living in lack, living in emptiness, living in fear, waiting for that external event to take away their emptiness or pain. That's the Newtonian model of reality, of cause and effect. Turns out, though, the moment you're feeling that lack, you tend to try harder and force and control and try to predict or manipulate the outer world, because you're doing everything you can, because you're experiencing a separation or polarity from what you want. You're waiting for it to happen and not creating. So then, two things. When you combine a clear intention with an elevated emotion, a heart-centered emotion, not the emotions of survival that are anger and hostility and aggression and competition or hatred or envy or jealousy or insecurity or fear or anxiety or pain or suffering or guilt or shame, those are derived from the hormones of stress. An elevated emotion is a heart-centered emotion, and a heart-centered emotion lacks polarity. This is the center of oneness. This is the center of wholeness. This is the union of opposites. This is our connection, our bridge to the quantum field. This is where we connect. So think about it. When you begin to feel a heart-centered emotion, what you're doing is you're falling in love with your life. So your body is your unconscious mind. It does not know the difference between an experience that creates an emotion and an emotion that you're creating by thought alone. Your body is believing it's living in that future reality in the present moment. Now think about this. The latest research on genes says the environment signals the gene. Well, the end product of an experience in the environment is called an emotion. So when you begin to embrace the emotion ahead of the actual experience, you're signaling the gene ahead of the environment. And now you're beginning to instruct and select new genes that make new proteins. And proteins are responsible for the structure and function of your body. So you're literally becoming your dream. You're literally becoming it. So when you feel that emotion, you tend to be less interested in looking around outside of you of how it's going to happen. If you're walking around conditioning your body every day to feel that emotion, that you're in love with yourself and you're in love with life and you're worthy to receive and you're open and you're inspired and you're optimistic and you're enthusiastic and you're feeling that emotion, you feel like your future has already happened. So you're less likely to feel lack or separation. Now think about this. Point number 2. Once energy makes it to the center and you feel gratitude, that center begins to produce a measurable magnetic field. That's a frequency, that's energy, and all frequency carries information. So now you can lay the thought of your new relationship on that frequency, and now you're broadcasting a whole new electromagnetic signature into the field. So then the longer you're conscious of that energy, the more you're calling your future to you. When this center is opened up, you're connected to the quantum field. So now you don't have to go anywhere to get it, to try to force it or control it or predict it. In fact, you're the magnet. You're collapsing time and space, and the event is being drawn to you, and it comes in synchronicities and serendipities and coincidences, opportunities. Now, the antithesis is also true. The moment you feel angry because you're in traffic, the moment you judge your coworker because all of a sudden they push an emotional button, the moment you feel sorry for yourself, victimized or self-pity, you're now emitting a different energy. In fact, you're back to the energy of your past and you just disconnected from your future. So then people's dreams stay at arm's length from them. So people ask me all the time, well, how come my new relationship hasn't happened? And I tell them the same thing. Take out a piece of paper and write down everything you want in a new relationship and then become that person. Because the question fundamentally is, would you go out with you? So if the answer is you're starting to love yourself so much that you no longer need another person, or you're no longer in lack, then you magnetize an equal. It just happens as a side effect. And it doesn't happen in ways that you can predict. It happens in different ways. So the emotions of gratitude, appreciation, thankfulness, a love for life, a joy for existence, worthy to receive, inspired and enthusiastic to be alive, looking forward and in excitement and anticipation to the unknown, staying in that energy without analyzing. That's the energy that allows the unknown to begin to occur. So what you're doing is you're teaching your body emotionally what that future feels like. And when you're in a state of gratitude, you're in the perfect state to receive the fruits of your efforts.
We have matter is the particle, but it's interchangeable, all a part of the all. So we're always connected to source. And when we get in this more fluid state, we end up having the state that where we can actually create from the field. And many artists who've drawn Mary Magdalene over the centuries, some of the famous painters, Renaissance painters, were actually heretics, and they felt like this painting on the left, of Magdalene with the oils, is showing her as an alchemist, that she understood the power of this frequency, this energy. The oils are made from plants, and the plant's oil has a vibrational impact that it has in healing. And the church wants them to paint the penitent Magdalene, who's on her knees groveling. So they were paying them, but they actually put in symbols and things to help, like holding the Christ mind next to her heart. And you heard how much Joe was talking about that. It starts with the heart, and then having that Christ consciousness moving up to the mind, and see how she's looking up to the higher consciousness, but she's holding the Christ mind close to her heart. So this was ways that they were able to keep the story of the truth of what she was able to accomplish alive, and still get paid by the church to paint her as a penitent, because they called the painting a penitent Mary Magdalene, which makes you think that there's something wrong or bad. And nothing. She's actually quite awakened, quite illuminated. And this was the whole problem with the story they told about her chakra centers, that she had 7 demons, that she was mentally ill. It wasn't 7 demons. It was the transmutation of the 7 chakra centers into fully illuminated state of consciousness, because she was practicing the teachings of Jesus. And Georgia Tor also created her Steps to Awakening. I discovered this, and I think I could share. I don't know if I'll have time to share today, but this is the smoking flame painting on the left. And it was actually a painting that was used in the Little Mermaid movie, which I'll tell you about a little later, I think. But in order to move into an awakened state, you see that the flame that's there is in oil, and oil is fluid. So, and she has also got her dress off her shoulders. She's got the Christ skull. She's got her hand tapped into the mind. So she's tapped into the Christ consciousness. She's got that intention of, I want to know the light. So she's very focused on the light. And so what ends up happening is, because that's her journey, that's what she's doing, she's following the direction. You see in the second painting that he did, because he only really painted 3 paintings of her. The second painting, you see the flame is now in the crown chakra area of the Christ mind, and her fingers, if you put your fingers on the skull, it's over the eyes of the skull. So the eyes of the skull, but actually that mirror is reflecting the eyes of the skull. It's reflecting her Christ consciousness, and you'll see the wide open third eye. And when you look more closely at this painting, so there's this deep concentration, this deep realization and knowing of her awakened state. And then the last painting is the Fleur de Lis. It's the gold gilt framed picture of within and without. The solid, it's come solid. It's now solid in her. So anyway, it just gives you we now know what her steps were for awakening. Higher thoughts create a fluid state, not dense. The intention to detach from matter, the separated self, becomes spacious, fluid. And Joe kept talking about no thing. When you're in a state of no thing, you're in a state of pure energy. You're in the state of waves. And so you're connected to the wave. You become, as he said, the brain becomes holistic. And it starts to unify, and there's coherence that begins to develop. And this coherence is really important. And it's important to take a deep breath too, because we're learning about things that are above and beyond what was available to us before. The next and the final is like if we drill down, the last level is what they call string theory. And so we'll go back to the course in the Gospel of Mary. It says, what is matter? And then it continued on. It says, they're interwoven and united with each other. So this was a scientist's drawing of the string theory, of the interweaving and united connection that was a scientific architectural design of how we're all connected with each other. These are lines that are straight out of the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. And so what is matter? All that is composed will be decomposed. Everything returns to its roots. Matter returns to the origins of matter, which is light energy waves. And those who have ears, let them hear. And of course, what are we hearing? We're hearing the sound waves as we've entered into the wave-like state process. So I'm going to jump over here to this part. We learned about seeing with the body's eyes is a below-the-line experience where we see only the past. But in the gospel, according to Leloup in his commentary, true seeing is looking within with vision. The teacher himself made it clear your unhappiness is the consequences of your actions, and your actions are the consequences of your choice. So you're choosing, you make the choice that you can go above the line. And true seeing is looking with vision, that the teacher himself made it clear the consequences of your choice, what you do, takes you further away from your true nature. So this is another little short clip that he talks about this door to these levels.
When the brain is incoherent, you're incoherent. When the brain isn't working right, we're not working right. Come on, you with me? And when you're under stress, you narrow your focus and you obsess and overthink things. And we discovered that if you do the exact opposite, instead of narrow your focus on something material, broaden your focus and put it on nothing. Put it on space. And that act of sensing nothing. Now, I don't know how to explain nothing to a materialist, but I'll give you a shot, okay? Imagine then if we took away everything physical and material that you know, all the bodies in the room, all the people, all the objects, all the things, this place, we take away the earth, we take away the moon, we take away all the planets, the moons from the planets, the sun, the light from the sun, the stars, the galaxies, the light from the stars and galaxies. Take away everything material and physical. Scoop it all out of there. What are you left with? Say it. Space, nothing, yes? Emptiness, yes? But we discovered that when you put more attention on that nothing, on that space and less attention on you. When you feel more of it and less of you, those different compartments of the brain begin to unify and your brain begins to become more holistic. And as it begins to synchronize, as you're sensing space, you can move out of that high state of arousal called high beta brainwave patterns. So you're all pretty much in beta right now. By the way, we'll get done here in a few minutes, but stay with me. You're all kind of in beta. Beta is when you open your eyes and you're kind of plugged into three-dimensional reality, like a character in a virtual reality experience. Like, oh, I got this body. I'm local. I'm aware that I'm in space and time. Okay, I'm this person. And I got to process all this sensory information, what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, what I'm smelling, what I'm tasting, what I'm feeling. And the brain's got to integrate it. And its job literally is to create coherence and meaning between what's going on out there and what's going on in here. Come on, you with me? And when you're doing that, all that integration creates what's called beta brainwaves. But if I said, hey, we're going to take a test at the end, don't worry about it. There's going to be 50 questions, and you got to get at least 40 or 50. And if you don't, we're going to put your name on the screen. You'll have to stay afterwards, but we'll call your name out. You would be like, turn the light bulb up a little brighter. You get a little bit more awake. You kind of lean in, pay attention a bit more. It's almost like good stress, right? But if you're really fearful, if you're really anxious, if you're really angry, if you're really frustrated, really judgmental, if you're miffed in some way, now you're in that kind of high beta state. It's 3 times higher than low-level beta. And that's when you're driving your sports car in first gear on the freeway. The brain is way out of balance, and it's incoherent. The brain is out of order, and its patterns are interfering, and there's energy being diminished in the brain. Come on, you with me? Static, in a sense. Okay, so then as you open your awareness to space and you're sensing space and you're feeling more of it and less of you, if you're feeling it and you're feeling space, you're not thinking, but you're feeling. And if you feel it, you no longer activate those circuits in your brain and you begin to slow your brain waves down from high beta to mid-range beta to low-level beta. And all of a sudden you start to relax and you move into alpha. And the moment you move into alpha, the voice in your head that's always talking to you, is telling you things, it tends to kind of quiet down and the brainwaves slow down and your inner world starts becoming more real than your outer world. And you kind of see in images and pictures. The brain goes into an imaginary state. And that is the creative state. How many people are with me? Now check this out. If you keep practicing this, and you keep practicing this, you keep relaxing into your heart and staying awake in your brain, and you keep sensing space, your brainwaves can drop down into theta brainwaves. Now in theta, check this out, your body is actually resting in a light sleep. It's kind of sleeping while you're awake. Relaxed and awake, are you with me? And theta tends to be a very hypnotic state. And when you're hypnotic, you're suggestible to information. Come on, you with me? And the door between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind in theta is wide open. And now you can rewrite a program. You can rehearse a new script. You can condition your autonomic nervous system to manufacture all kinds of chemicals based on your intention. Come on, you with me? And if you can stay there and move just a little outside of normal theta, just where you get a little bit outside, a little high amount of theta. And the door is wide open. Now check this out. Remember, when you're in theta, you're suggestible, yes? Just like a hypnotist, right? But you're in a meditation, so you're not aware of your environment. You're getting no information from your environment, but you're still suggestible to information. Come on, you with me? And there's only one other place that you can get information from, and that's called frequency. And this quantum field, this invisible field of energy that exists between you and I, it is ubiquitous. It permeates the entire universe. And like a liquid, it begins to allow waves to move through it. And you are connected to it. But if you're unaware of it, it doesn't exist for you.
So that's an excellent point that he's making. So we continue. I'm going back and forth. You can see as he makes different points, and then I'll go back to the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. Because here Jesus is answering the question that the disciples have put to him about there is no sin. It is you who makes sin exist when you act according to the habits of your corrupted nature. So the thoughts that we think that create the feelings that we have and give us the life that we're experiencing, whether we're happy or sad or angry or frustrated or whatever, have to do with this this corrupted nature of our world. So this is where sin lies. It's within us because we're making sin happen. This is why the good has come into your midst. The good is the field. It's the field of the love, the peace, the joy, the fluid energy. It acts together with elements of your nature and reunites it with its roots. And this is, then he continues, this is why you become sick when you die. It is the result of your actions that take you further away. So you're either moving closer to the truth of who you are, or you're moving further away. And if you're moving further away, then you're going to have difficulties and problems. So what takes you further away? What is your vision? So you have to have the vision that is held in your divine mind so that you may overcome what is within yourself. And that becomes very important. So Joe talks about it. He says, when a person starts feeling the emotions of their future, in other words, it's coming closer to you, in that instant, their heart begins to respond very differently because they're coming into heart coherence, which is what the research studies have found. So the vision and the inspiration are now in sync. And so there can be the manifestation of your true nature. So then you have to ask yourself, what is your vision? And what is your heart's desire? What is your holistic, whole self, wholehearted self want? So when I send you the replay, if you come to this spot, take the time to write out your vision and identify what elevates your inspired feelings, like what gives you. It's not just getting the car or the job or whatever, but it's the feeling that I'm cared for, I'm provided for, all is well. I've been running this mantra about all is well and everything's going to work out. Everything's going to work out. And I'll repeat it over and over when I have something happening in my life where I think, oh, this is not going to work out too good. I hold that mantra, and it's amazing how things always work out. So, and then I strongly, suggest that you might want to come and take some additional classes with me. This is the painting from the Little Mermaid picture, which I thought was really amazing, that when the Little Mermaid went down into the sunken treasure, the treasure that she found was the Smoking Gun Flame painting, which is this painting that tells you about the way Magdalene achieved her awakening. And so Joe says, if we wait for anything outside of us to make us happy, then we are not following the quantum law. We are relying on the outer to change the inner. So in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, it says, it is with this vision of the nous, of the divine mind, that we overcome the without within. That's the same exact thing. And then these are the more detailed steps where you can go within and see really closely. She did this work of overcoming the without within because she stopped. She got still. She focused on the light. She connected to the Christ consciousness. She raised her brainwave state. She became passionate and in a more fluid, conscious state. And you see on the table are all these books, right? But they're off to the side. She's not reading the book. She's not engaged with it because this is about the material world. and she's going to a higher level. So as she begins to have the intention to know the light of God within her and to discover it, the books and that instrument there, the rope tied around, that's a tool that they used to flagellate themselves because of the concept that you're a sinner. But the Gospel of Mary says you're not a sinner. It's only your thoughts that make you, feel this way. So it's all about love and finding that light. So as she continues with her meditation, you see that she is now really focused. So this picture was so dark that I decided to blow it up. And so when I blew it up, look what shows up. Her fingers are on the face where the eyes are. The back of the skull should be reflected in the mirror, but not the eyes are reflected in the mirror, because the mirror is reflecting her face. And it's showing you that she has achieved the gamma brainwave Christ consciousness state of mind because of her doing this inner work. And so the third final painting has to do with this achievement. So now her shirt, which was off her shoulders, is now up. And when they have pearls laid down, the expression was, we don't lay pearls before swine. Well, she's not swine. She's royalty. She's achieved Christ consciousness, for Christ's sake. So she's like an amazing, and you notice her hands are like this. She's kind of kicked back. She's like, I got this one, because she knows who she is. And she knows that she is solid now in the knowledge, in the gnosis of knowing that she is the Christ consciousness. That is who she is. And she is one with that energy. And so in the Gospel of Mary, she goes up to Jesus and she says, I saw you, Lord, in a vision. And he looks at her and goes, oh my God, he realizes that it's really true. She did see him. So what you do that takes you further away, something important is being communicated here. Are the things we do that bring us closer to being, do our actions awaken the good in us, where truth, goodness, and beauty are one? Or does it take us further away from exile from our true identity? And this is the whole teaching of the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. It's like the choice here is mine. And I can use my intelligence and my imagination, my third eye, my ability to vision. The teacher himself made it clear, according to Lulu, your unhappiness is the consequence of your actions, and your actions are the consequences of your choice. What you do takes you further away, but you don't want to go further away. You want to come closer. So you have to understand it's your attachment to matter that gives rise to this passion against nature. And here's why I tell you to be in harmony. So, and the Course in Miracles also goes into this too, that we choose once again, because every time we fall out or we fall from grace, we just, when we have awareness of that, to get above the line again, and then we choose once again because, but here's the real question. We're supposed to be in harmony, right? But how are we to be in harmony with our enemies? And so I'm going to end with this last story, which is really great. This is a Qigong master who actually lives in San Francisco. And I saw this video about his work that he was doing. In Qigong, it's the mastery over the energy. So they're working with the energy of the qi that flows. But all these people that are around the master are trying to attack him. And you'll see that in a moment when I share the video. The Qigong master is not treating their energy as a separated self. He understands that they're one. So be in harmony with our enemies is to skillfully allow their violence. People are trying to attack him, right? To pass through us without contamination. So there's no judgment. We are one. We are the same energy. And so he's able to take their energy because he understands that their energy is his energy. He's one in that energy. Do you see how she's running up to him? And he just directs her. He just points, no, you go over there. And you go back. And he just points his hand. And then somebody comes from the side and he just stands there and then pushes him to the ground without even touching him. And he's doing it all from an energy point of view because he understands that even though they have the thinking that they're going to attack him and try to knock him down, he doesn't have that thinking. He's recognizing that he's one with their energy. That's his energy. So if it's his energy, then he can do with it what he wishes. Down you go. And the student has no ability to do anything but go down or go back or go wherever he points them to do it. So. Anyway, I'll send you the link and you're welcome to watch the full video. So my parting words to all of you is peace be with you, and may my peace arise and be fulfilled within you. And I hope you will consider getting the book, and possibly even if you do buy the book, I will give you the remaining course series, which has to do with her ascension process and how the soul's journey, and I outline and explain it. And then I also want to invite you, there's a conference that's happening, a free global conference starting June 14th. And I think you might have seen that in the videos that I offered, sophiaunveiled.com. And I'll be talking on Friday, June 19th. They'll release the pre-recorded video, and then you can watch it at any time over the next 48 hours. But I'm talking about the journey of Sophia through my own lived experience, starting when I was 6 months of age. So anyway, oh my God, thank you guys so much. I hope to see all of you soon. We will next year be doing a marvelous Magdalene Moonrise Easter service. And Easter comes early this year. It's the last Sunday in March. And I'm looking forward to that, fulfilling the prophecy. So blessings to all of you, and thank you so much. Much love. Take care.
As I relax and I allow, oh, the way she opens up. As I relax and I allow, oh, the way she opens up for me. La da dee da dee da di, la da dee da dee da di, la da dee da dee da di, la da dee da dee da di. Oh, the seasons and the flow are inside me as I go. Oh, the seasons and the flow are inside me as I go my way. La da dee da dee da di, la da dee da dee da di, la da dee da dee da di, la da dee da dee da di. Oh, my breath, you are my guide as the river takes me home. Oh, my breath, you are my guide as the river takes me home to now. Oh, 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 oh. I relax and I allow, oh, the way she opens up. As I relax and I allow, oh, the way she opens up for me. La da dee da dee da day, la da dee da day, la da dee da day, la da dee da day. Oh, the seasons and the flow are inside me as I go. Oh, the seasons and the flow are inside me, this I know always. La da dee da day, la da dee da day, la da dee da day, la da dee da day. Oh, my breath, you are my guide, as the river takes me home. Oh, my breath, you are my guide, as the river takes me home. To now, to here, always now. La da dee da day, la da dee da day, la da dee da day, la da dee da day. La da dee da day, la da dee da day, la da dee da day, la da dee da day.